Hi guys, I hope you guys are well. So this is not a word for everybody, but whoever this word is for, you will know because God would have already shown you something or told you something. Most likely he would have given you like repetitive dreams, or every time you see yourself in the spiritual realm, in the spirit, you are already at this level. You are already at this status. You are already engaging, interacting with people that are at this status, and you are interacting with them in the spirit. Okay, let me just put on my had to put on my do not disturb, because for some reason people always like to call me or always like to text me or anything like that when I'm about to do a video. Can you imagine the amount of patience that Joseph had to have, like from the day he received that dream and God showing him what's going to happen? God didn't go into full details showing Joseph. He just knew that he had a dream of people like bowing down to him basically, and that dream represented like Joseph's authority, the position that God was going to bring him in. But he didn't get full details as to what type of position it could have been or what. He just knew that he had some sort of authority because his family, members of his family, were like bowing down to him or whatever, right? So when he mentioned that to his brothers, they tried sabotaging him because instantly they knew what it was. They knew what it meant. Even though they tried to play it off and make it seem like they didn't know, they knew exactly what that dream meant. Okay. So could you imagine the patience that he had to have, knowing that, you know, him almost being killed and then being sold and then being lied on, falsely accused, ending up in jail, and then someone in jail, you know, agreeing to do something, do him a favor, and then not doing it for him. Can you imagine the amount of patience that he had to have going through all of that just to get to the position that God is going to lead him to? You have to understand one thing about God is that no matter what goes on in our lives, even if it's like heavy, there's a lot of turmoil, God is going to always reassure us. He's going to always continuously show us, okay, you are going to still go to where I need you to be. You are still going to be here. You are still going to be with that person. You are still going to be able to do this. You're still going to be able to do that. Like, God will continuously remind us. Reason being is because he wants us to know that despite what we're going through, it does not change the outcome. It does not change the prophecy. The prophecy still stands. Okay. So can you imagine the amount of patience Joseph had to have going through obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, being there for people, helping people, you know, elevating people with the gifts that God has given him and with his favor, and only for them to all betray him or to misunderstand him, right? You have to have a lot of patience to go through what Joseph went through, or to go through what Job went through, and to still have a humble heart, to still have a humble spirit, to still be upright. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of faith. Especially, it takes a lot of discipline. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I told a very wise young lady yesterday. I mentioned to this very wise young lady yesterday, you know, she was saying that basically, like, she sometimes thinks back and says, God, what if I had known this ahead of time? What if I had done this ahead of time? You know, maybe I could have prevented this. Maybe I could have prevented that. Relating to like the obstacles that she's going through, she's thinking like, I could have prevented certain obstacles had I known this, had I known that, right? And I had to remind her of the story of Joseph, and I had to tell her, listen, I'm pretty sure that Joseph, along his journey going through what he is going through, I'm pretty sure he thought back to telling his brothers that dream and may have said to himself, oh my goodness, I wish I had not told my brothers this dream. You get what I'm saying? Because that's the like most human thing that anybody can do. But what we have to understand as children of God is that every obstacle, every challenge still leads us to where God needs us to be. But understand this as well. Had things played out differently for many of us, you know, we may not end up at that outcome that God wants to lead us to. And what I mean by that is, you know, that story of Joseph, that was probably meant to happen. As in, like, God knew he was going to open his mouth. God knew that he was going to go through all these obstacles. And that is what may have had to happen to lead him to that position. Right? And the reason why I told this young lady this was because I was telling her, what if you would have known what your enemies were plotting ahead of time back then, right? And you would have said something. And what if things would have been worse for you? What if you would have received what you're going to receive later on earlier, and then something would have happened when you received that? Okay. So for many of you guys that think the same thing, like thinking back to your life, like, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should have did that. You have to understand something. Do you know that, sometimes God won't reveal to us what our enemies are going to do until it's the right time? And the reason why God may not have revealed to you guys back then who your enemies were and what they were doing was because had you known, things probably would have panned out differently. Things would have ended up differently. Not only that, there may have been even worse obstacles involved. Because some people are like, you know what, had I known that this person was against me, had I known that person was against me, I could have prevented this, I could have prevented that. I wonder why God never showed it to me back then. Like, that was something similar to what the young lady was saying. But God understands the mindset that we're in at that time. He understands our emotional intelligence at that time, the level of that. He understands our hurt at that moment. And trust me, we may think back and think that we would handle situations with grace because of where we are today, where we stand today, in our heart and our humbleness today. But had things been revealed to you earlier when you did not do the work that you've been doing and getting right with God, many of you guys would have ended up doing things that could land you in trouble. Had you known who some of your enemies are back then, y'all would have got arrested for throwing hands. You see what I'm saying? Or some of y'all may have had that retaliation mindset without realizing you have it. As in, once you knew what was going on, you would have probably retaliated. You see what I mean? Had you gotten into a relationship earlier and stuff, you probably would have been divorced because of the witchcraft that's being done. And maybe you would not have had the knowledge like you have now back then. And the spirit of Jezebel, the demonic spirits, would have taken full control over you and your partner and your marriage, because you would not have known what you know now. See, our path, our experience is also what opens the door for God to give us wisdom. Okay? And you have to understand that 2 seconds of your life changed can have a huge effect on your future. So if you can go back in time and change 2 minutes of your life or a minute of your life, the outcome may not have been the same today. You may look at what's going on around you, be like, God, I wish I would have went back then and da-da-da-da-da-da. And what you don't realize is, because God can see the bigger picture and we're only seeing puzzle pieces, we only see the bigger picture when it's completed. But even then, it's not the bigger picture, because we don't know everything that God knows. What you may not understand is, had you gone back in time and changed a minute or changed a week or changed 4 days of the past, you probably would have been dead. You probably wouldn't be here today. You see, God can see the outcomes. He can see the paths. He can see what would have happened had you did that and what would happen had you did that. Right? And that's why the things that we know now, we did not know back then. Because the path could have been different. You see what I'm saying? Had God warned Joseph about his brothers and told him not to tell them the dream, yeah, it probably would have led him to the same path he's on today, the same path that he was led to. But God didn't warn him. There's a reason why God did not warn him, because the Bible did not say anything about God warning Joseph about not sharing his dreams to his brothers. Imagine the outcome if Joseph didn't tell his brothers the dream. So Joseph had to go in the direction that he was going in, even though the direction that he was going in came with a lot of heartache, a lot of turmoil. You know what I told this wise young lady yesterday? I said to her, do you know that, all the obstacles and turmoils that we fight that may look hard, had we known what could have really happened to us, we probably would be glad that we're fighting the obstacles we're fighting today, had we known the other outcome that we may have had to face. See, sometimes the path that we think is the hardest is actually the easiest. Because the path that we are on that we think is the hardest because of what we have to fight, right, is the greater path compared to where we could have been or where we could have ended up, which could have been harder, or we wouldn't even have another day to continue walking that path. You see what I mean? God has shown me many times what would have happened to me had I been on that path. And yes, I have my moments, I have my days where I'm frustrated, I'm upset, I cry, I weep, and all of that stuff. But then I always go back to a place where I think of where I could have been, and then I start feeling grateful all over again. And you have to understand that we don't have full access to everything that God knows. So there's many things that God knows that could have happened that we don't know. So we may be here weeping and crying, not understanding we may not have been here had things gone any other way, had we gone backwards and changed 2 seconds. So yes, there may have been a lot of people trying to sabotage your marriage, doing witchcraft, and they may have succeeded and kept y'all apart for some time. But had y'all gotten together back then, y'all would have been divorced. Compared to fighting the witchcraft, receiving knowledge and wisdom about what's going on, knowing how to be equipped, knowing how to cover each other, and now getting into a marriage where it lasts forever. You get it? And what I mean by forever, in this lifetime and in heaven. Okay? Same concept with your purpose, your destiny. Yeah, there's many people trying to block your destiny, trying to block your purpose, trying to defeat you. But had things gone differently, you see what I'm saying? You probably wouldn't have been able to continue walking towards your purpose. Your life would have been cut short. You would have had probably a premature death. You see what I'm saying? So the walk towards the purpose in this route, where you have to fight all these things, it's actually benefiting you. So the point of this video is, not only do I have to show you guys the importance of being grateful even despite the trials and tribulations, even I have to take this advice myself, so I'm not being a hypocrite, I have my days too. But the point of this video is to let some of you know that you are about to walk into a door that you couldn't even imagine. And the people that you're going to have access to, the blessings that you're going to have access to, you are going to be like, man, I am glad I walked the path that I walked. I am glad that I did not go backwards. I am glad that things happened the way it happened. Because had I not gone through this, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be on this path today. I wouldn't be at this purpose today. I wouldn't be in this position today. I wouldn't be in this marriage today. I wouldn't be over here today, wherever you are. Some of you guys are going to walk into doors that's going to change your life. You know why? Because not only did you walk this path with complete humbleness, even though you had your days, but you were faithful, you kept the faith, you believed, and you did not repay evil with evil. God is going to bless you. Okay? I love you guys. See you in the next video. I'm here sweating because my car is hot and I don't have the AC on. And this is why I like to use my mic. Because when I have my mic, I can have the AC running. When I don't have my mic, I cannot run the AC and I start sweating. Okay, I love y'all. Bye.